Maybe we should do it right after the prayer again. Right after prayer, or the beginning of the prayer, maybe we can do one more time. And more people will be there.
الله أكبر الله أكبر أشهد أن لا إله إلا أشهد أن لا أشهد أن محمدًا رسول الله أشهد أن محمدًا حي على الصلاة حي على حي على الفلاح حي على الفلاح الله أكبر الله أكبر لا إله إلا الله
إن الحمد لله نحمده ونشكره ونستغفره ونستهديه ونعوذ بالله من شرور أنفسنا ومن سيئات أعمالنا من يهده الله فلا مضل له ومن يضلل فلا هادي له وأشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له وأشهد أن محمدا عبده ورسوله صلى الله عليه وسلم أما بعد فإن أفضل الحديث كلام الله وخير الهدي هدي محمد صلى الله عليه وسلم. In the name of Allah, the mercy-giving, the beneficent, praise be to Allah. Praise be to Allah who has blessed us with the greatest blessing ever, that is to make us Muslims. ومما زادني شرفا وطيبا وكدت بأخبص أتأ الثريا دخولي تحت قولك يا عبادي وأن سيرت أحمدي للنبيا. The greatest blessing that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala can bestow upon any one of us is to refer to us as His servants. Dear servants of Allah, everybody that has a job, that has an occupation, speaks proudly of what they do. When you have someone in the medical field, they talk about all the rounds that they do and the training that they do and the conventions that they have to go to. Someone that is an attorney talks about how they go into the laws of justice and the courtroom and how they defend and they speak and all that they do. People in technology and maybe sales and marketing are talking about, I have to take this trip and I have to take that trip and this journey, and everybody's talking about the journeys that they take, the work that they put to get them to that profession that they're in. One of the greatest privileges and one of the greatest titles and one of the greatest jobs of being a Muslim is what we want to talk about today. It's the job that Allah has placed upon us, and we need to carry it proudly and heavily and carry out to the best that we can. It's the job that we're supposed to travel day and night for it. It's the job that we're supposed to pay money for it and support it as much as we can. What job am I speaking about? It's the job of Dawah. Dawah. Inviting others to come closer to Allah. Those that are not Muslim, it's part of my job as a Muslim to introduce them to Allah, to introduce them to the mercy of Allah, the grace of Allah, the way of Allah. And then those that are Muslim that I might have lost the way or have shortcomings, that I invite them and remind them. Even those that are better than us, because all Muslims should be reminded. And so the greatest honor of a Muslim is inviting others to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And that is what da'wah is. One of the biggest mistakes, and I'm not sure when it happened in history, is that we started to think that da'wah is the work of certain people. It's the work of this jama'ah or this group or someone called an imam. We hire someone, we pay them a salary, they stay in the masjid. They're the only person who can give da'wah. And the answer is no. Are you a Muslim? Do you say La ilaha illallah Muhammad Rasulullah? Then you are the person that is supposed to give da'wah. Do you love Allah? Do you love the Prophet alayhi salatu wasalam? Then you are that ambassador that should bring people closer to Allah. You don't need a college degree from this university or from this college or from this imam or from this muqri or from this mufti to be a da'iyah. To be someone that invites people to Allah. And subhanAllah, sometimes it's the opposite. Sometimes someone has the PhD in da'wah and in sharia and from this university and that university. They are imam and they have all those years of whatever. But their heart is not sincere with Allah. So people see that person and they just, they're not comfortable around them. And you have that sister and you have that brother that is so simple, that is so kind, that is so loving, that is sincere with Allah. Wallahi, when they speak, everybody listens to them. And everybody loves them. If they tell you to do something, you rush and do it. So da'wah, my brothers and sisters, is not the duty of an imam or a mufti or a shaykh or maulana or he has a PhD from this university or he's a muqri. No. You love Allah and you're a Muslim, you love the Prophet alayhi salatu wasalam, then your job is to call people to Allah. And that is why Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, وَمَنْ أَحْسَنُ قَوْلًا. And who could ever say something better than what Allah? مِمَّنْ دَعَى إِلَى اللَّهِ. That's someone that invites to the path of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. The best word, the kindest word, the most reward you get for anything that you can say is when you're inviting someone to get closer to Allah. But before we invite, there's a couple of things that we just need to tweak. So I'm going to start by tweaking myself and tweaking all of us. The first one, my brothers and sisters, is we have to clean ourselves and cleanse ourselves. No one is perfect. No one is perfect. Human beings who are not, the Prophet ﷺ says, كُلُّ ابْنَ آدَمْ خَطَأ. All of us, the children of Adam, make mistakes. Some people say, no, I don't give da'wah because I'm not perfect. This is the dumbest thing you can ever say. No one is supposed to be perfect. So that's not an excuse from da'wah, but you cleanse your heart as much as possible. You cannot invite someone and you think that you're better than them. You cannot invite someone and you think they're bad and they're evil and that they are wrong. You cannot invite someone while you hate them. He's from that group. He's from that ethnic background. He's from that whatever. So when I speak, I'm speaking with arrogance, that I'm higher, that I'm better. No, that's not dawah. That's personal ego, ignorance, call it whatever you want to call it, but that's not dawah. Dawah is when you know that Allah has a Jannah and you want to see that sister and you want to see that brother in Jannah with you. You want them to have the happiest life in the Firdaus al-A'la with you and with the Prophet ﷺ and the Sahaba. So whatever you say is you're very cautious and you want to be very careful in what you say and how you say it, that they will follow you. That's why it's called da'wah. What does da'wah mean in Arabic? Da'wah means invitation. When do you use the word da'wah? We use it in weddings. So I want you to come to a wedding. What am I going to do and say, hey, I have a wedding on Friday. You want to come? You don't want to come, it's up to you. No. If I want you to come, I'm going to be so, man, I know you're busy, but please, you have to come. And you say, I'm busy. Man, I know you're busy. I know you have a lot. Come on, man, this is my wedding, and you have to come. This is what da'wah is. Da'wah is an art of pulling and dragging that person to what is best for them, whether they know it or not. So there's a few points I want to remind myself about when we're doing da'wah. Number one, straight from the Quran, from Surah Nuh. Allah says, إِنَّا أَرْسَلْنَا نُوحًا إِلَىٰ قَوْمِهِ. And then He says, فَلَبِثَ فِيهِمْ أَلْفَ سَنَةٍ إِلَّا 50 عَامًا. 950 years He's giving da'wah. Why is that important that Allah specifies that 950 years is giving da'wah? Because there's some people that are impatient and stupid and ignorant like myself. I come to a brother, I come to a sister, pray. No, I don't want to pray. Man, I'm telling you, you need to pray. No, I'm going to pray. If you don't pray, you go to the hellfire. No, I give up. That's it. I told them to pray. I did my duty. You go to the hellfire. I don't care. I quit. So Allah says, no. I have sent Nuh to his qawm, reminding them day in and day out for 950 years. How long have you given da'wah? 5 minutes? 1 week? 1 month? 1 year? 5 years and you're giving up? No. Da'wah is a commitment to Allah. I won't stop until everybody comes to the masjid and loves Allah and prays and pays zakah and wants to give charity and wants to read the Quran and wants to fast Ramadan, and they will spit in my face today and they will laugh behind my back today and they will reject me today, and I'm going to come back and differently, and every time come with a different form. That is why the second thing about da'wah, number one, commitment. Don't quit. You're not going to get hurt the first time or the second time or the 10th time. Remember, from Noah, 950 years of commitment. But what's the second one? Da'awtu qawmi. I invited my people, sir, secretly, jihad, publicly. Why is that important? And what's the difference between inviting people privately and publicly? If someone is to do something good, you invite them publicly. We have a fundraiser. We're supporting a masjid. We want to encourage everybody to do good. No, you do it publicly. We're trying to help orphans. It's something good, publicly. Now, I have a drinking problem. I drink alcohol. Nobody knows about it. Do you come in public? Brother Bashir, last Friday night I saw you drinking, and do you think I'm going to sit there and listen to say, Jazakallah khair, you're so kind of, like, you son of a whatever, weren't you doing the same thing? Didn't I see you there? No, this is not da'wah. This is embarrassment. This is belittling. This is attacking the character of the person. So what we learn from Nuh alayhi salam, when you're encouraging something good, the da'wah should be public. When you're telling people about salah and zakah and sadaqah and this and all the good characters, you do it publicly. But when you're telling someone about something wrong with them, it's already humiliating. When someone is telling me, Bashir, you know you did this, but you did a mistake, it's already humiliating, no matter how you do it. When you do it publicly, even if it's in front of my brother or sister, the closest people to me, no, it's still humiliating. So what do? You do it privately. You hold the person's hand and speak to them privately, you know. I know you don't pray, but it's important that you pray. I know you've committed this sin and this is not good, and ask Allah for forgiveness. This, you hold their hand privately and you speak to them privately. And a lot of us think it's da'wah. A lot of us are sitting together and we're discussing something about salah. And this imam said so. And the other person, no, this imam said so. And no, he said so. No, this is not da'wah. This is you fighting for your ego. When you hear people arguing publicly, don't get into the middle of it. Even if they ask you, what does Allah say? I said, he said this, and he said this. May Allah bless you. This is not da'wah. If it's something that is good, we learn from Nuh alayhi salam, publicly. If someone is doing something wrong, you saw them do something wrong, it's haram for you to embarrass them. You hold their hand privately and you speak with them privately. Brother, forgive me. I want what's best for you. Sister, I want what's best for you. I heard this. I saw this. Please forgive me. I know I'm not better than you. I know you're better, but here's my advice for you. Privately. And maybe they didn't do it. Maybe it's a misunderstanding. Maybe they did it. But they're going to accept it more from you. Number 3 is something called fiqh al-waqi'. Its fiqh is divided into different groups. There's fiqh al-zaman and fiqh al-makan and so on. Fiqh al-zaman, what does fiqh al-zaman mean? You need to understand the time in which you're giving da'wah. If I was giving a khutbah 20 years ago, I'll give a khutbah today, it's a very different time. Yeah, some people give da'wah and they give it the same way they did 40 years ago. But now we're in a different place. People think differently and you need to speak differently. Even a year ago is different from today. Even yesterday is different than today in certain things. So when you speak, you have to keep that in mind. When we're speaking with the younger generation, we need to think and speak differently than we spoke with the older generation. Fiqh al-zaman has something. Even the occasion in which you're in. There's a joke about an imam that was invited. His father was in the hospital, very sick, and they invited this imam to come and make a da'wah and make dua that Allah heals the father. So the first word the imam says, Allah says in the Quran, يَقُولُ تَعَالَى كُلُّ نَفْسٍ ذَائِقَةُ الْمَوْتِ. The guy is sick and the imam prays that Allah heals it, and he starts reciting in the verse in Surah Al-Kafir, Allah says, everybody's going to taste death. And every Muslim is going to die. And some people are going to go to the hellfire. My father is about to die, he's sick, I want you to make dua and mercy, and Allah heals everything, and Allah is powerful. This is not the time to talk about death. Or sometimes you have people traveling from all over, it's a wedding reception. This is the time for happiness and joy and so on and so forth. And you get an imam to speak. Brothers, the aqd of zawaj is the responsibility. If you don't tell your wife to pray, she will go to the hellfire, and you also will go to the hellfire with her and your children. And if you don't pray, there's no barakah in your wedding. La ilaha illallah. This is the time to celebrate and be happy. The Prophet ﷺ in Medina saw Sayyidah Aisha and Sayyidah Fatima, his wife and his daughter, coming back. He said, where were you coming from? They said one of the women of Medina had a wedding and we came back. The women of Mecca are more strict, more conservative. The women of Medina are more liberal. He said, what? You just went for 5 minutes and came back? Didn't you go there and sing and celebrate with her? He said, Prophet of Allah said what? We don't know how to sing. What should we say? He said, go back and say, أَتَيْنَاكُمْ فَحَيُّونَا نُحَيِّيكُمْ. And he taught them how to, celebrate with the people. This is the time of happiness. This is not a funeral. You go and congratulations and you come back. No, you celebrate and show our happiness and joy. So the time of the da'wah makes a big difference. When you're speaking about something, speaking at a time that is related to it. You don't come right now to someone and say, it's haram, you don't go to Hajj, you have to go to Hajj. Right now, pray for you. Hajj after 6 months, when we're 2-3 months closer to Hajj, then we'll talk about Hajj. So choose the time that is appropriate to speak about something. The second thing is fiqh al-makan. Al-makan is the place in which you are in. Get to know where you are. Get to know where that person lives. I'll give you an example, and to some of you it might seem funny, and some of you might be offended. It happened to me, so I can laugh about it. In one of the masajid here in South Florida, I was giving a Friday khutbah. And an elder person, one of my closest best friends, here's the irony, that this person is one of my closest best friends. When I stood up to give the khutbah, He came running. Imagine this, the khutbah and everybody's quiet and sitting in the masjid is packed. This is before Corona. He comes running, wallahi alim, all the way from the back, and he takes a cap and slams it on my head. In the middle of the khutbah. So what do you do at that moment? Yeah, and he wasted his entire khutbah. You're not supposed to move or speak, whatever. He moved and spoke and came all the way up, and the tension that you put in all the people. Is this guy going to hit the imam or fight with the imam? And even myself, I'm like, what is this guy doing? In the middle of the khutbah, he's running towards me. But whose fault is it? It's my fault. Why? Because in some of the Hanafi school of thought, you cannot leave the salah if your head is not covered. Islamically, there's no problem with it. But the congregation that I'm speaking with, I know they're mostly Hanafi school of thought. I should have been smart enough to cover my head before I got on the minbar. Islamically, there's nothing wrong with it. My khutbah is correct. You don't have to cover your head. You need the proof. Look at Hajj, look at Umrah. You pray and whatever in all of the Hajj and Umrah. You never cover your head, and you cannot cover your head during Hajj and Umrah. Huh? So Islamically, there's nothing wrong with it. But out of respect for the place that you're in, you need to be sensitive to what the people think. We're in South Florida. I can give a khutbah with the jeans. In other places, if I go, you guys know what will happen to me. So when you're speaking for people to accept what you're saying, be aware of where you are. The location of where you are. Sayyidina Umar ibn al-Khattab sent the Sahaba, in the sake of Allah, they left Mecca, they left Medina, and they went all the way to Asham, and they reached the land of Palestine, and now they want to open Palestine. Sayyidina Umar ibn al-Khattab came. The Jews said, we will give you the key, but we have in our doctrine, in our old scripture, that a man whose name starts with the letter Ayn and 3 letters, meaning Umar, is the one that opens it. And we will not give the key until Umar comes. It's a very long, beautiful story. Sayyidina Umar was so humble and down to earth. It wasn't about the dunya that was Khalifa. He was there for the sake of Allah and the da'wah, getting people closer to Allah. So he's traveling for days on a horse. He and his servant. And he will recite a juz while he's sitting on the horse, and if he makes a mistake, the guy pulling the horse will correct him. And after he finishes the juz, Amir al-Mu'minin Umar ibn al-Khattab, he pulls the horse and puts his servant on the horse, and then he recites the Quran, and Sayyidina Umar is pulling the horse. That's how humble he was. He gets to Palestine, in front of the gates. He finds his commanders-in-chief, Khalid ibn al-Walid, and all those amazing Sahaba standing over there. They miss him. They haven't seen him in 6 months or so. Guess what the first thing he does is? He takes stones and angrily starts stoning them one after the other. They said, oh, what is wrong? We miss you. We love you. Why are you stoning us? We've spread Islam all the way to the land of Palestine. Here we are. They're going to give you the key of Al-Quds. He said, when I sent you people of faith. You were humble. Your thobe used to be torn. You didn't care about the dunya. Now that I see you, you guys are wearing very expensive clothes. Sayyidina Khalid ibn Walid, who used to be poor, now, as he's coming to Palestine, he's wearing something worth thousands of dinanir. In the back of his horse is like, you're people of dunya, you're wearing expensive stuff. They said, La ya Amir al-Mu'mineen. Let us tell you something. Come here. When we were in Medina, when you weren't torn up clothes, people respect you and know you're humble and you love Allah. When we went to the land of the Romans, and the Roman Empire back then in the Sham and so on, no. When they see you torn up, they say this Bedouin, this Arab, nothing, and they fight us. But when we wore expensive clothes, they start to respect us and open their cities for us. They say those are knowledgeable people, those are educated people, don't fight them. So Sayyidina Umar immediately realized, yes, the place is different. The place is different. So when you're giving da'wah, be mindful of where you are. So there's the time, there's the place. And then in Islam, there's something that I also want to point out, and a lot of us make that mistake. There's something called thawabit and something called mutaghayyirat. Thawabit are things that are stable, that are solid, that never change. Mutaghayyirat are things that change. Give me an example. Salah. From the day the Prophet ﷺ came until the day of judgment, Salah is compulsory. You have to pray, you have to pray, if you're sick, you have to pray. If you're in the battlefield, you have to pray. If you're in a hospital, you have to pray. If you're in the masjid, you have to pray. Full stop. So when you give da'wah, you give it powerfully because it's something that does not change. Political parties. We have people, especially in the Middle East and Asian countries, that come and say, this person is a Muslim, you have to vote for him. You have to vote for her as a Muslim because they are the one raising the Quran. They are the one raising the Hadith. They are the one raising Allah. Like, we elect them. 6 months later, that person turned their back and started throwing all the imams in jail. Now we look like we're liars. Now we're like, no, I thought, wallahi, I remember so many of my closest friends back in 99, vote for Bush. As a Muslim, you have to vote for George W. Bush. Why? Because Republicans never like battle and fight. Okay, good. Less than a year later, he's all over the world fighting in Muslim countries. So, as da'wah, focus on things that are solid, that do not change. What about people? What about imams? Someone might come and say, Brother Bashir, listen to Brother Bashir. Don't listen to Brother Bashir. Why? In Arabic, we have something that says, لا يعرف الحق بالرجال ولكن يعرف الرجال بالحق. Men and women do not define the truth. The truth defines them. Now things are good with me, it's good, it's easy. I can say, hey, fear Allah and fear this and pray and fast. And something happens the next day and then I'm like, no, but you can do this and you can do that. And we see with a lot of imams and speakers and people that were famous, they used to say, do this, and now they're moving to a different direction. So when you give da'wah, don't focus on the person. Focus on Allah, because Allah doesn't change. Focus on the thawabit, values of Islam, of saying the truth, of being dedicated, of being sincere, of being helpful, of being charitable, of giving zakah, of hajj, of fasting, of the orphans. Those are things that don't change. Those are core values that don't change. Da'wah is not about a man or a woman. So don't think that da'wah is to defend a man or defend a woman. Da'wah is, and that's okay. You can be an activist, a political whatever, that you think so and so is better. By all means, go and do it. But know that that's being a political activist, which is good. May Allah bless you for it, but it's not da'wah. Da'wah is when you're sending the core message of values of being closer to Allah, loving Allah, worshiping Allah, and coming closer to Allah. Bismillah, alhamdulillah, wassalatu wassalamu ala rasulillah. Beloved brothers and sisters, the Prophet ﷺ describes the importance of da'wah. Because one of the biggest challenges, we forget the role of shaitan. I go to the mall, especially with the sisters, and maybe we find a sale. What's the first thing I do when I find a good sale? Go and see Macy's. Go and see there have a closeout deal. What used to be $30, now it's $5. Boom, there's a network, social network that goes out. Everybody's out. What about us? Restaurants, work, specials, whatever. You tell your friends about all the promotions. Like, I don't pray, and you know that I don't pray. Shaitan comes to you and says, no. This is between him and Allah, and don't show off. And if you tell him to pray, maybe, he will get upset, maybe he'll get angry, maybe... This is where shaitan comes in, and then, even though we know you're doing something wrong, but we are afraid to tell you. Maybe they will second guess me, maybe they think my intention, maybe all that maybes, and then I hold back and I don't give da'wah. So the Prophet ﷺ describes it in two beautiful hadith. The first one, the Prophet ﷺ speaks about da'wah and says, it's like a community, a group of people that are traveling in a ship. The sinful people, the wrongdoers, are on the lower deck. And the pious and good people are on the upper deck. You guys follow it? People are traveling in a ship. The sinners, the wrongdoers, are on the bottom of the ship. The good people are on top of the ship. The sinners want water, and so they knock and wait until the good people open the door. Hey, give us water. Okay. 5 minutes later, we want water. They knock and waiting. And finally, the sinners in the bottom of the ship, they say, you know what? Every time we want water, we're going to knock. No, we're in the middle of the sea. Just drill a hole in the bottom of the ship. We're already in the sea. Just drill a hole in the middle of the... We got all the water that we want. So the Prophet ﷺ said, if the people of good who are on top do not pay attention to what's happening down, is only the lower part gonna, or everybody's gonna drown? Who's gonna sink? If you don't give da'wah, no, it's all of us are gonna sink. And if you don't believe me, go to Mexico, go to Colombia, go to Venezuela. You will find someone by the name of Muhammad and Ahmed who has a cross, who is Catholic. Huh? Are you Muslim? No, but my grandfather was Muslim. Are you Muslim? No, but my grandmother was Muslim. And it's happening today around us in small numbers. We can sit and say, no, how did I pray? I'm not going to tell someone else, it's none of my business. But that is what we are assuring, that the whole ship is going to sink. And that is why the only way we can be saved is when each and every one of us holds the hand of his brother, and the sister holds the hands of the sister, and with sincerity and with genuineness, and say, I know I'm not better than you, but I want what's best for you. Sister, wear the hijab. Brother, pray. Brother, you have good money. Sister, you have good money. Pay the zakat. Don't hold back. Give it for the sake of Allah. Go to Hajj. 40, 50 years old. Time for you to go to Hajj. Invite people to the masjid. People that are not Muslims, start inviting them. Go to correctional facilities. Do what you can to invite people and beautify that Islam. In your house, online, on Zoom, say, hey, every Saturday for half an hour, we're going to read the Quran. We're going to do the tafsir. Read the book yourself. But what's going to happen? 2 of your friends are going to show up. Next week, 3 of your friends are going to show up. Next, 10 of your friends are going to show up. Next, you're going to have a circle like nothing else. One example of da'wah, and I'll conclude with it. And again, sometimes when we give names of political groups, people assume that you belong to that political group. And if you know me, I don't affiliate with any political groups. But I'm just giving it as an example of something that happened that is so great. Not that I support that person or agree or disagree with him, but just to give you an example of how when someone started something, it grew so fast. There was an imam in the late 40s in Egypt. And this imam was given a small masjid all the way in the village. Nobody came to the masjid. Next to the masjid was a coffee shop. And everybody's going there with the hookah, they hear the adhan, Maghrib, nobody goes to Maghrib prayer, everything else. So what does the imam do? After Maghrib, he went to the coffee shop and sat with one of, sometimes there is what we call the mu'allim. The mu'allim is the big guy, he's the boss. When you go to the coffee shop, there's always that big boss that has the circle around him. And this guy went straight to the boss and sat next to him, and he was the funniest guy ever. Man, how's your day going? How are you doing this? How are you doing that? And he just started joking and laughing with him and laughing and joking and whatever. And the guy in the middle of the coffee shop said, man, I love this guy. He said, tomorrow you have to come. I'm going to invite some of my friends. You come and say what you said to them again tomorrow, and all of your food and drink is on me. He said, okay. So he came the next day, and this guy invited more of his friends, and he said this and that, and he threw a couple of hadith Allah said, and the Prophet ﷺ said, and da. He said, man, this guy is amazing. I love you, man. The third day, the coffee shop was full. Everybody loved this guy with his sense of humor and his love for the deen and how he was speaking and the charisma and so on. So now the whole coffee shop is full. People standing outside. So he told them, I have an idea. On the 4th day, tomorrow, why don't we go and do it in the masjid? And they all started to laugh. We here with this smelling like hookah and we're dressed like this, we go to the masjid, wallahi the imam will kick us out. He said, guess what? I am the imam of that masjid. And I'm inviting each and every one of you. Now that person that started from a coffee shop, his name is Hassan al-Banna. And he started a political group called Al-Ikhwan al-Muslimin, the Muslim Brotherhood. Regardless of whether we agree or disagree, I'm just talking about how, when you start simple and close and dedicated with people, how something can grow. And now the followers of that group are by the millions in Egypt, in Kuwait, in Qatar, in Pakistan, in Palestine. It grew from a simple meeting in a coffee shop. The point that I'm getting to is have the courage to speak and invite. Shaitan is going to put the barriers. He's going to think, she's going to think, they might think, they might... No. If it's from the heart, you'll accept it. And Malish, I know I said it's the last one, but I just remembered one and I'll conclude with it. Usually we have to go a little bit over time, so, and you guys are kind and forgive me for it, so exactly what I have. I have a few friends who for the last 15 years, always in Chicago, they go every Friday and give the Friday khutbah in a different prison, in a different jail, in a different either county jail or correctional facility or federal prison. And once a month they meet together to see what can we do differently. So one of them will say, I'm giving dawah in this masjid and this person became Muslim and they want to learn about the Quran. This guy says, I'm good in the Quran. So next week I'll go to your masjid, to your prison, and you go to a different prison. The other one says, they want to learn about the hadith and this and salah and whatever. This guy says, I'm good in fiqh. So each month they sit and recalibrate what they're doing. And so I'm talking to this good friend of mine. How long have you done it? 15 years. Every Friday they go to different prisons and jails and invite people to Islam. And usually each one will have about 1 or 2 people a month become Muslim. 1 or 2 people a month in each jail becoming Muslim. So I asked them, who is the best amongst you? So there's about 13 of them. I said out of curiosity, who's the best amongst you? He said, you won't believe it. Now one of them is my friend, he has a PhD, mashallah, and a doctor, and this amazing guy, and speaks English fluently. The other one, attorney, very fluent. The other one is a business person, been born and raised here. All of them speak English very, very fluently and know the culture and lived in Chicago for years and know the different places. And so they speak very good with them. And that's why each month you have 1 or 2 people become Muslim. He said, Wallahi, the best one amongst us is a brother that came 6 months ago from Egypt. Wallahi, the brother cannot speak one proper word in English. But he has a pure heart. He loves Allah. He says this brother, when he speaks broken English, but every single person in the prison wants to come and listen to him. He said the Hispanic people gather, the white people, the African American, everybody just gathers, and the way he speaks, you can tell it's from the heart, and he's funny. He's like, brother, Allah, He loves you, Allah is kind, He's good, you become Muslim. Say, La ilaha illallah. He said every single time at least 15 or 20 people become Muslim because of him. Not because of the languages, because he's sincere about it. So there's all those things about da'wah we need to do, but the most important thing, if you want Allah to guide someone, is make sure that it comes from a sincere heart. If you are sincere, wallah, Allah will change person after person after person in front of you. That brother that doesn't pray and is always at the bars and is always drinking, if you are sincere in your da'wah, if you're private, if you hold their hand, if you show them that you love them, if you support them and show them the way, wallah, tomorrow they'll be a better Muslim than you and me. And that sister that doesn't care about religion is going dressed in shorts and tights and everybody thinks she'll never be a good Muslim. Wallahi, sister, if you have that sincerity in your heart that you love her and you want her in Jannah and you pray at night for her. Sincerity is when you want Allah to guide someone, it's not just speaking publicly. You plant the seed at night when people are praying. You make your sujood and pray, Allah, guide them. Allah, put love in their heart, just like you do with your children. Your son, your daughter, late at night, you're praying for them, you do it for all the Muslims. Allah, our daughters that have lost the way, guide them, protect them. Allah, our sons that don't pray, that don't do this, that don't do that, that are chasing the long way, guide them, make them better Muslims, make them find good spouses and have wonderful children, guide them to the masjid. Make it come from a sincere heart. And wallahi, if it comes from a sincere heart, watch what Allah will do to them. So beloved brothers and sisters, I conclude with what I started with. Da'wah is not the responsibility of the Imam or the Shaykh or the Mufti or the Maulana or the Alim. You love Allah, you love the Prophet ﷺ, you want us, your brothers and sisters, in Jannah with you, then Dawah is your job. Dawah is your honor. Dawah is your badge. You go proud with it. That wherever you go, yes, that's the sister that always tells us to donate to the masjid. Yes, that's the sister that always tells us to pray. Yes, that's the sister that has a Zoom group that makes us recite the Quran. Yes, that's the sister that if you have problems, she's the sister that helps us. She has this group of people that donate for goodwill. If you can't pay your rent, get in touch with that sister. That's the brother that does this. That's the brother that does that. And this is what we need to do. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala guide our tongues, guide our hearts to make us in the path of da'wah. Guide ours to be in the straight path of da'wah that we invite people toward your path, Ya Rabbal Alameen. Guide us to be good Muslims, sincere Muslims, and invite our brothers and sisters to be the best of Muslims, Ya Rabbal Alameen. Guide our brothers and sisters to be the best in their worship. Guide them to be the best in their fasting and in their zakah and in their sadaqah and their love, Ya Rabbal Alameen. Guide us to come united under La ilaha illallah Muhammad Rasulullah. Make our brothers and sisters love each other. Make us love all of our brothers and sisters. Allah, if anybody has done wrong to us, anybody insulted us, anybody cursed us, anybody has shortcomings with us, forgive them, Ya Rabbal Alameen, so that we can enter Jannah with your rahmah and mercy, Ya Rabbal Alameen. وقل آخر دعوانا الحمد لله رب العالمين وقوموا لصلاتكم يرحمكم الله.
الله أكبر الله أكبر أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله أشهد أن محمدا رسول الله حي على الصلاة حي على الفلاح قد قامت الصلاة قد قامت الصلاة الله أكبر الله أكبر لا إله إلا الله.
الله أكبر. الحمد لله رب العالمين الرحمن الرحيم مالك يوم الدين إياك نعبد وإياك نستعين اهدنا الصراط المستقيم صراط الذين أنعمت عليهم غير المغضوب عليهم ولا الضالين آمين. القارعة ما القارعة وما أدراك ما القارعة القارعة يوم يكون الناس كالفراش المبثوث وتكون الجبال كالعهن المنفوش فأما من ثقلت موازينه فهو في عيشة راضية وأما من خفت موازينه فأمه هاوية وما أدراك ما هي نار حامية. الله سمع الله لمن حمده. الله أكبر. الله أكبر. الله أكبر. الله أكبر. الحمد لله رب العالمين الرحمن الرحيم مالك يوم الدين إياك نعبد وإياك نستعين اهدنا الصراط المستقيم صراط الذين أنعمت عليهم غير المغضوب عليهم ولا الضالين آمين. الناس إله الناس من شر الوسواس الخناس الذي يوسوس في صدور الناس من الجنة والناس. الله سمع الله لمن حمده. الله أكبر. الله أكبر. الله أكبر. الله. السلام عليكم ورحمة الله. السلام عليكم ورحمة الله.
Brothers and sisters, please, before you go, if you would join us in reciting Surah Al-Fatiha on behalf of Brother Ala Radwan, who passed away in Texas. We ask Allah that He grants him Jannat Firdaus al-A'la and He continues to watch over His orphans that He's left behind, His wife, inshallah. Brothers, as many of you know, there's been a devastating flood in Sudan, and we've launched a campaign here to collect donations to help out our brothers and sisters in Sudan. You can find that on the Facebook page. You can also send money through the Zelle or the Cash App and just leave it in the memo. You can drop off a check, leave it in the memo that this is for donation to Sudan, inshallah. May Allah reward you and give you back, inshallah. Also, we do need your donations, as always, for the masjid. The past few weeks, we've been struggling to keep up, even just paying our one-paid brother here who is the caretaker for the masjid. So please try to give generously on your way out. We are always in need of your help. And if not financially support, please do your part. Let your friends and your family and your brothers know that this masjid is open. We are praying 5 times a day. We have the Friday prayers going on. Invite people to come in, inshallah, so they can also help us. Thank you very much. Assalamu alaikum.
Gracias.